but they focused more on creating new product and services from the existing data that they've got. And that's the differentiator. And that's how that they've made it big than all the other organizations.
Life is an endless stream of challenges, but no worries. Manuj is bringing the world's best minds right here for you.
My gosh, Manuj, you just blew my mind.
Thank you, universe. Manuj, thank you.
I'm so grateful.
It makes me feel a bit better.
Thank you.
Bootstrapping Your Dreams is here to give you what you need to succeed.
Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. I'm your host Manuj Aggarwal, and today we have a very special guest, Shailendra Kumar. So Shailendra is one of the leading experts in the field of AI and data in the world, and he has been at a very top high-level executive roles in Fortune 500 companies like SAP and others. And let's welcome Shailendra and ask him about his journey and all the achievements that he has been able to accumulate in his career and how he got here. Welcome, Shailendra.
Thank you, Manuj. How are you doing?
Good, very good. So excited to talk to you. So tell me, Shailendra, we come from similar background in that we come from India and we are both techies. And how has been this journey for you? Tell us a little bit, take us down the memory lane. How did you start in technology? How did you get to where you are today?
So thank you for having me, Manuj. First thing first, let me just correct a bit. I'm a techno business person. I'm more business than technology person, and I think that was the shift that happened in my career at a point in time. And I think that was the game changer as well. So yeah, I started. I'm a computer engineer by trade. I did computer engineering at Priyadashini College of Computer Sciences, PCCS in Delhi. Before that, I'm a DIPSite, Delhi Public School, RK Puram. And from there on, the journey started. I went off doing, I set up SAS Institute in India in 1997. That was where my career shifted, my journey shifted towards analytics.
I see.
And that was in 1997. So I was one of the starters, or it was a startup at the time. Now it is $1 billion company within India itself, but it was started from my home actually.
Oh wow!
So we talk about working from home now. I did that 26 years ago actually, and so that's how the journey started. I worked for SAS Institute. I set up the business there, and because I came from technology background, I could code. The idea was to go to people, ask their business problems they're facing, get some data, and show them what the art of possibilities, what they can do with data. And that's how it all started, I think, in 1997. And now I've got different versions of those that I've done over the years, but that's how it started, if you wanted to know that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I remember those were the sort of the early days of internet boom, and a lot of things were happening. Companies were going crazy valuation within weeks of launching. So tell me how was that experience for you? How was that period for you? And how did you move out of India and went to Australia?
It is an interesting story, by the way. I was one of the guys who didn't want to leave India. So I used to say to people that if you want to make it big here. You don't have to go overseas. Everyone goes overseas and makes it big. Why can't I do that here? So my agenda was very different at the time. That was 97, 98, 99. But as you said, Y2K happened and everyone was going overseas. And I wasn't touched by the Y2K because I wasn't doing anything in that space. I was doing analytics, which was absolutely people didn't even know what it was. In fact, to be honest, when I used to go and talk to people about SAS Institute, they used to ask me, Institute, what do you teach? And even if they got out of that institute mode, they would say SAS, Scandinavian Airlines. So people didn't know what analytics was, let alone anything else. And but then I made that change and made people aware of what the company could do, what the product could do, what the company could do, what the technology could do for them. So I was not touched by Y2K at all. But in 1999, I was one of the, well, globally, I was one of the best performing employees of SAS Institute. So I just, something happened and I said, I want to go overseas as well. So I started asking my bosses to give me so in SAS, you get what is called a transfer. You don't leave SAS. So I went to my bosses and told them that give me a transfer. I want to go overseas. And they turned around and said, well, no. If we give you a transfer, everyone else will also ask for it. And so that's not happening. They thought that, yeah, he will go nowhere and he will be just here for the rest of his life because no one leaves SAS as well. But then I had different plans. So I found out where to go and I was applying for jobs left, right, center. And suddenly, I think in the matter of 2 months, I got a job in 5 countries. I got a job in the US. I got 2 jobs in US. I got 1 job in UK, 1 in Singapore, and 1 in Belgium, Brussels. And that was the time, the moment to take a decision. Where do you go? Do you go to US? Do you go to UK? Do you go to Singapore? These are the common culprits. Everyone goes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's a funny story because I went off to see one of my uncles at his son's wedding. And we were standing and we were having a coffee and he said to me, he walked on to me and said, Shaili, what are you doing these days? I said, oh yeah, I'm looking to go overseas. I've got some offers. And he said, so we're off. He said, I said, I've got Singapore, UK, US, Brussels, Belgium. And he said, you know what? Everyone goes to these common places because these are very common and everyone goes there. I think the best challenge will be to go to Brussels. And I said, why? He said, because you don't know the language, you don't know the people, it's a different place. To be honest, I didn't even know on map where Brussels was. And I took the advice 15 minutes later and I said, yeah, I'm going to Brussels. And I went off to Brussels, one of the best places, most beautiful places on planet. And I loved it. I lived there for 2 years, worked for Logica, CMG, worked for Valoris when I went to Brussels. And then from there on, I worked for Valoris. I went to Holland, Netherlands, lived there for a while. Then I lived in UK. And then I came back to India, from where, after I got married, I came to Sydney because my wife was an Australian citizen. So that was doing the rounds around the globe in matter of, I think, 5 years.
Nice. That's awesome. So you've been involved in data analytics and this whole game of data for several decades now, longer than most people. How have you seen the transition happen? Like starting from SAS Institute. What kind of technologies existed back then? What kind of work were you doing? Is it almost the same kind of work, or it has evolved? What are some of the expectations that business has from data now? What are your views? Because you have seen it from a very different, time scale.
Yep. So there are a couple of things, right? One is technology. So technology has, and I say that at most of my public speaking events, the technology has changed significantly. So and it's become cheaper and affordable. So I'll tell you a story. In early 2000s or even late 2000s, if you wanted to do analytics, proper analytics. So first of all, I'll come to that as well. If you want to do analytics, you had to invest around about $250,000 to actually get to start doing anything, because you needed hardware, you needed software, and all of that. Today, that technology is available, and look at the difference in scale. That is available at $25 a month. The $250,000 to $25 a month is a significant change in the cost of doing business, right? So it has changed significantly. So that's one thing. The other thing is that analytics even today is, sorry for my language, but is a bastardized term. And anyone who's doing even writing SQL calls themselves an analytics person. To
Mhm.
someone who's creating a report calls himself an analytics person, and someone who's doing high-end predictive modeling is also an analytics person. So there is a so I will rephrase it that there is a level of sophistication,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people are missing the point. What they're missing is that, and don't get me wrong, it is no one's fault. It's the fact that people are not educated in this space
Absolutely.
even today. So and I was with one of the large technology companies, and we were talking about US, and I was in US for that, and they were discussing single customer view in 2016-17, and I was laughing sitting in that room because I used to do that 20 years ago. So I said, well, why are you going to sell this? Who's going to buy it? Because this is old school, everyone has it. But the reality was, and they said that that's sold best. So there are organizations at different levels of sophistication at the moment. Some organizations are still at the very nascent place where they still need a lot of understanding and explanation of what data can do for them. And there are some really hard hitters who've got a chief data officer, a chief analytics officer, and there is a difference between the two as well. And I had an argument on this with one of the large what do you say? I'll name them. Sorry, I had an argument with Gartner on this as well because they said to me that a chief data officer role was A, B, C, D, and I said, well, no, he's not qualified to do that. Chief data officer is an IT person, whereas a chief analytics officer is a different person. So there is a level of maturity. There are organizations who've got both chief data officer and analytics officer, and there are organizations who've got who are just trying to run SQL to get data together at one place. So there is a level of, so that's where we are even today.
Yeah. I do find that, as you said, technology has come quite far, and that's the role of technology. It keeps evolving, but I think the awareness about what the technology is all about, what it can do, I don't think uh, it has kept pace with the technology. In fact, in my opinion as well, most companies are losing out on the opportunity to capitalize on the data they already have, right? I mean, data is becoming the new gold. What are your thoughts about it?
So I have a very simple saying, right? Lots of large corporates, and this is a function of those large corporates because that's how they make money, right? Large technology companies, they will go and tell companies that you need to collect more data because that's where they make all the money.
Yeah.
Where I come in and say, well, mate, you already have so much of data. Let's do something with this first and turn it around and then think about other data sources. But what is happening at the moment is, but that's where the money is for those technology companies. So they will come and tell every company that you need more data. You need more data. How much more is more, right? So how much data can you actually have without doing anything with it? So I come from a school of thought that whatever data you've got, let's use that. Let's start turning it around, and then we will go and start collecting more data as if needed. And because they make a lot of money with that, and I was one of those who used to say that. And the other thing is there is less expertise in that space. There is very less expertise around the world where people can tell you what to do with the data. A lot of people will tell you collect more data because that's easy. That's the technology. I'll put in 2 more bots. I'll put in 2 more beacons. I'll put whatever. I'll put some more technological gadgets to collect more data, and that's easy because that's machine. That's what you're doing. But the real thinking part is that you've got all of that data. What do you do with it? And that's what I've been saying, and that's where I've actually done a lot of good work around. Well, I can call it good because I call it. So a lot of good work in that space where I'm trying to help people to turn that data around into some value. Unless you see that value, there is no point collecting more data. You can collect as much as data you want.
Absolutely. No, that is true. And it is in line with what I find as well in the industry. I use the example that companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook, they have accumulated more wealth than any other company so fast, and that's because they know how to utilize the data, right? So coming back to your success stories, can you share with us some of the good work that you were talking about? What are some of the biggest success stories you've had in terms of utilizing data and then extracting the value out of it?
Before we go there, let me explain to you. You mentioned, Google and Facebook collecting that much of data. For the audience, for the listeners, I would say one thing. You know the difference between those companies and the companies who were the top 10, companies in the world in last 5 years. Why has that changed? So if you look at it, I've done an analysis on that. Companies who were like the top 10 companies in 2015 or top 20 companies, there are around about 55% of the companies do not appear in those top 20 companies anymore today in 2021. And the reason behind that is that these companies like Google and Facebook, what they've done is, and before I tell you what they've done, I'll tell you, or I'll ask you a question and even ask the audience one question is that how do you see any organization working, any business working? They work on only two premises, that is profit and loss. Yeah. And that is being there for hundreds and hundreds of years. So what you need to do is to make your business better, you need to increase your profits and reduce your costs. If you can do that very well, you're doing very well. So most of those traditional companies have been doing that. But now these new companies like Facebook, Google, who are the new companies, so-called new companies who've just arrived in the top 20, Amazon, the FANG companies or GAFA, with whatever you call them. Now these companies have done a very different work. What they've done is they have focused, they've less focused on profit and loss, but they focused more on creating new product and services from the existing data that they've got. And that's the differentiator. And that's how that they've made it big than all the other organizations.
Absolutely.
And suddenly the companies who were focusing on profit and loss and trying to balance it out have disappeared because they had left one new source of income just outside of it. So suddenly these new companies have come in and said, well, we'll focus on profit, increase the profit, reduce the costs and whatever, but we'll focus on creating new products and services. And those new products and services, you get to see almost every day a new service is being launched, even today by these large companies. You wouldn't realize that they've just used your own data to give you another service.
Exactly.
And that's where the difference is. Okay, so that is one thing about these new companies that have come in. So now coming back to the question that you had, can you repeat it again, please?
Yeah, what are some of the success stories that you've had with data?
Okay, so I will talk about a couple of them. The first one I would talk about is working at Woolies. So Woolies is the largest retailer in Australia. So I was brought into Woolies as with only one sole purpose, that was making money out of data, which is also, by the way, the title of my book, Making Money Out of Data. And that title was given by my general manager, and who used to say, I've got only two people, one spends money, one makes money. So that was my job, making money out of data. And this was way 10, 11 years ago. Now, in those days, retail was simple retail. I will sell something to you and you will buy it. And where I came in is, created a loyalty program, brought in data into there, used that data to create new products and services for Woolies. For example, we created, so Everyday Rewards was the loyalty program that we created in 2008. And then at the back of the data that we had, we did some very cutting edge work. Like, you won't believe that my team was able to predict the income of each and every Australian on our books. Amazing. Not many people have even thought about that, but we did that. So as a result of that, we did cross-sell, upsell, which is the standard stuff. But then we created new products. We created everyday mobile, we created everyday insurance, we created everyday money. So new products and services were created as a result of that, which I think is a legacy even today. After so many years, I still see those products and I use them. Even after leaving Woolies, I think now 10 years I've been out of Woolies. But those services are still there and they're running high and dry and making a huge difference. The other thing which is very interesting is that we use data to change the price. So I'll tell you the story. The story was that competition was opening new stores on each day, every day. So my director came to me and said, Shelly, this is happening every day. What do we do? I've got a mandate to drop prices of 500 products every week. Can you help me? I said, yeah, sure. So we looked into the data and we came back and we said, you don't have to do that. He said, what? I said, you don't have to drop 500 products every week and they wanted to do it for a year. I said, don't do that. We will tell you exactly which products and what price point that you need to drop in, and that will make a huge difference. So, and I'll tell you that when I came to Australia in 2005, 2006, the price of milk was $3.5 a liter. So we ran price optimization on the price of milk, and we dropped the price of milk to $1 a liter.
Wow.
So the price of milk in 2009, I think, 9 or 10, was dropped to $1 a liter. We ran a campaign around it. We dropped the price, and then all the other, there is duopoly, whatever you say. The other remaining two retailers also dropped their price. And tell you what, we're sitting in 2021. You can walk to any store across Australia. The price of milk is still $1 a liter.
Nice.
So that many years, the price of milk hasn't changed. What we did using data analytics, and the thought behind that, or the analysis behind that, was that if you drop the price of milk, that will increase the footfall into the store. And so when you do price optimization, you look at price elasticity, and when you look at price elasticity, you find out the tipping points after which, even if you increase the price, doesn't make a difference. Or even if you drop the price, doesn't make a difference. So those were the touch points. So when we looked at those touch points, we said, this is the price, and this hasn't changed ever thereafter. So that is one of the highlights of my career as well, and I'm proud of it.
You are listening to Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show with Manuj Aggarwal. Businesses face numerous challenges like finding the right product market fit, determining the market size, implementing a winning go-to-market strategy, crafting customer-centric USP, competitive analysis, looking for funding, building up cash flow and profitability. We have made a lot of free resources available to the entrepreneurial community, including this podcast. We invite you to check out our websites and follow us on social channels. The links are in the show notes. We hope you find the resources useful and utilize them to grow your business. We also have some programs for entrepreneurs. If you find our content useful, then you will definitely find the programs outstanding. So do check them out. All right, so let's talk about some of the challenges that you've faced in this, because I think being from a similar background, working in the similar sort of industry, I face a lot of challenges, particularly in educating the customer, educating the executives. What are some of the challenges you have faced in your career around data?
See, again, as I said, it's less data, more personal stuff, right? You need to engage with the audience, to your customer, which could be an internal customer, could be an external customer, depending on where you're standing, and making sure that they understand. I think I've had very less problems convincing people because I do innovative stuff. I do things outside of the box, as data is, and that is what you should be doing with data. You should be thinking business, and as long as you think business and it is giving or creating value for the customer, internal, external, whichever, I think they're happy to take it. And so though maybe people have a larger number of instances where they had challenges. I had very less. For example, there would be someone who would be resistant to any kind of change. Now, data helps because when you actually create some value and show to them that this is what I see, it takes hardly a couple of times to actually convince them because you've got data to back it. And there is no harm in trying kind of stuff, right? That comes in through. So I didn't have that kind of a challenge to convince people to, make a change, as long as you're supported by some good analysis at the back of it. And I think, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say that loud and clear that there are less challenges than anything.
Yeah, I find that to be the case when we are in a corporate environment where the sales team is responsible for bringing the client in, but when you have to convince the client for the very first time, it takes a little bit of a uphill battle. But anyway, so
No. I'll disagree there as well, because I've done that role as well. So when I set up Accenture Analytics in Australia, New Zealand, we didn't have any customer in that space. In fact, it was against us because we were a system integrator. So people would not even talk to us about analytics.
What
And
company
I
was
was
it for?
analytics.
What
Sorry?
company was it for?
Accenture.
Accenture.
So Accenture is a system integrator. So when you go to a client and tell them, oh yeah, you are our client and we have Accenture Analytics, a practice where we can help you, they would say, there were customers who told me on my face that we don't need analytics. If we need analytics, we'll go to an analytics company. You are a system integrator. Please don't talk to us. But having said that, those customers were my biggest customers as well. Because when you go and just tell them that we've got some analytics to sell to you, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any sense. If you go to them and say, this is what I've seen in your data, this is what I think you've got a problem with, and I can help you solve that problem, then it is a different ball game. Then the question, so I tell people in analytics, you need to change the question. The question is not whether you need analytics or not. The question is, how do I improve on what I'm facing at the moment?
Yeah.
And if you can answer that question, there is no challenge.
Well,
in fact, there was one instance where I went on to see a client, and he was not even giving me a meeting because he thought it would be a waste of time talking to the head of analytics for Accenture in Australia, New Zealand, who's got, what does he know about my business? And they only gave me 15 minutes. And that too, because we had a long-standing meeting with them, and they said 45 minutes we will take our, so this was my team, which said 45 minutes we'll do an update with the CFO, and 15 minutes we will give to you. And to tell you the truth, when I went into the room was so cold. And when they introduced me for the first time, the guy actually told me the words I just told to you, that you are a system integrator. We don't need analytics. If we needed analytics, we'll go to an analytics company. When I left the room after 15 minutes, the question was, how can I improve on this? The question wasn't whether I need analytics or not. The other thing which I say to people a lot as well, analytics like any other technology, if it doesn't create any value, people will start saying that it's not worth it. It's just a buzzword. And that is where the problem is. And the reason for that is that there are a lot of people who actually don't do, as I said, there is a kind of a level of sophistication. People who are doing SQL writing code to get data collected are also calling it analytics, right? But the real value is when you're solving business problems, and that is on the other end of the paradigm. If you don't, and it's like a pyramid. There are very, very few people, two or three people in the world who actually do this. Rest of all the people are at the bottom of the pyramid trying to do SQL reports. Yeah, that's all. In fact, very, very large companies called large technology companies have their analytics practice. And when you talk to them, what do you do in analytics? They will say, hey, we've got a very good reporting system. And that is the problem.
Cool. No, that's great. That's great insight. Now, having talked to you before this as well, um, I know that you are also a passionate entrepreneur. So, tell me a little. Can you share some of your insights about how is selling different in the corporate sector versus being an entrepreneur?
I think it is simple. In corporate sector, if you're doing sales, it's easy because you've got a very set up sales team. Well, even if there is not, at least you've got the connections, you've done some business with them in the past. So there are two kind of companies, like there are startups and there are really established companies. So it's easy for the established companies to use the connection, go in and talk and turn them around.
Yeah,
When you're a startup or when you're an entrepreneur who's starting up or getting to that space,
yeah.
I think people are a bit reluctant to talk to you. They will not open. They will not open to you. Doesn't matter about the credibility. They think that and very wrongly they will think, and I'm saying that loud and clear. Very wrongly they will think that a company which is very well established will have that practice set up already.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They miss the point that it is the people in that
Yeah,
company
that's
who are
right.
actually doing the job. So they will go with the brand and pick that brand up, and that I've seen so many times. That's why so many projects fail so many times, because those projects were done thinking that this large company will deliver,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then they don't, because they've got wrong people doing the job. Whereas for an entrepreneur, I think there is a lot at stake, because he has to prove his credibility. He has to justify what he's doing, even if you're paying them less. They want to please you more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that should be the differentiator, but that isn't, unfortunately. So what happens is that when you go and reach out to someone, they say, "Where you come from?" "Oh, I don't know you." Okay, I'll talk to you. I'm very busy these days. In fact, I tell you, long time ago, I used to run, and this is an interesting story. I came back from UK and I came to India and I started my own company. And it was funny. I started calling my colleagues who used to work with me to fix up a meeting that I'm starting up. This was 2002, 3. I'm starting up, and I want to show you what I have to offer. And I built a software which was so quick that I could beat SaaS, business objects, PeopleSoft in those days in no time. So I had a great software to back me up. So technology was good. I had great outcomes, and I was thinking in the right direction. So I used to call these guys who I knew. I'd worked with them. I'd had lunches, dinners with them. And you won't believe, they won't give me a meeting. I got so frustrated that I called one of the guys, EA, and I said, "Give me a meeting 6 months from now. His calendar is free from 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Put a time 6 months from now, and I will call you at that time. Because otherwise you're very busy. He's busy tomorrow, he's busy day after tomorrow, he's busy this week, next week.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But he's free 6 months from now. Find a time in that time of your calendar and give me that time now. I'll block it now." So and then I met them, and to be honest, I won a lot of projects like this, because it was just a matter of presenting to them. The moment you talk to them and show them, and I was like, you go to all the other companies as well. You come to me, give me the data, show me the data, give them the data. Whosoever comes first, let's be fair. Whosoever comes first shows you value wins. I don't have any problem. If I lose, I lose. That's not a problem. And I tell you, hands down, I beat all of them each time, every time.
Nice.
Because I used to come back in a week, and in large corporates, nothing moves in a week.
Absolutely, that's great. So one question I have, so we have a lot of entrepreneurs, we have a lot of founders, professionals in the audience. If they want to start their data journey in their organizations, what is one piece of advice you can share with them?
Start from the end. So Microsoft says start from the start. The start button at the bottom, which is now not called start anymore. But I say start from the end. Analytics is about solving business problems. So simply do one thing. Take a whiteboard, write your biggest business challenge on the whiteboard in plain English. Do not worry about what data you have, what data you don't have, what statistical model will be used, what it is. Ignore that. Just write the business problem first. A problem could be as simple as that. I'm getting a lot of I'm losing a lot of customers. How do I stop that? Or problem could be that I've got a lot of projects which are failing. Why is that happening? You need to write the outcome that you're trying to achieve first, not what data I have. Oh, where can I get more data? No, that's wrong. That's the most incorrect approach in analytics. And I tell you, 99% of the people fail in articulating the business challenge in plain English.
Absolutely.
So once you've written that, then you go backward to think, okay, fine, to solve this problem, what data will I need?
Yeah.
And to solve this problem, if I had that data, what model will I build? If I had that model, what output will I get? If I get that output, will I be even able to execute it? Because I may tell you, okay, maybe, and I'll make it a bit different now. Maybe the output is that by doing this, you will be able to get moon in your backyard, and that's great. But the question is, will you be able to get the moon placed in the backyard?
Yeah.
Is there enough space? You didn't even think about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you've built a model, you've come up with an output, and the output says do this, but you can't execute it. So what's the point? Why did you spend that much of money in getting that data to build that model to create an output which will not be used? So it is very important to articulate the problem first, and also make sure that you include the business teams at the very beginning in that part of the project, because it should be owned by the business, not by the techies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they are going to execute it. They are going to take it to market. That's one thing. The second thing is that these are the techies, these are the business guys who are then going to execute it. It should be their project. And if they don't believe in it, they're not going to execute it. So they should be included. They should own it. They should think it is my project.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
most of the organizations miss that.
Cool. No, that's very good advice. Thank you so much for sharing. It has been a fascinating conversation about data and just learning about how it can make a huge impact in businesses and how people are missing out on opportunity. So thank you so much for spending this time and sharing your wisdom with us. Now, before I let you go, can you tell us how people can reach out to you?
Well, people can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So I've got my LinkedIn. You can just search for Shailendra Kumar, or it is /in/SHAILY, Shelly. On Twitter, I am on @MEIS Shelly, SHAILY. Me is Shelly. By the way, I wanted I am Shelly, but I couldn't find I am Shelly, so it is me is Shelly. And on YouTube, it is there are lots of videos on YouTube. I think there are around about 400 videos now. It is Shailendra Kumar SHAILENDRAKUMARS is the username, so you can look out for that and you will find me there. And Facebook is Cognitive Today, and just reach out to me. Or if you can email, if you want to email, you can email at shailend.kumar@gmail.com.
Awesome. We'll put those links in the show notes and make it easy for people to reach out.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm Sarah, producer of the Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. This episode has come to an end. Don't forget to check out the episode show notes for the links to the resources mentioned in this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Until the next episode, goodbye. Keep going and keep winning.